This is Camping with Wade's RV on 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk. Your RV guide for Oklahoma and beyond. Give us a call at 918-460-KRMG. Now, let's hit the road.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Camping with Wade's RV. You're listening to 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk. Good afternoon. Skyler Cooper with you on a Saturday. Nice and cool out there. Going to be a nice day. Good time to go camping, I'm sure. And Willy D joins me from Wade's RV, 161st and Highway 75. You can call them 918-291-1011. Willy D, how you doing this afternoon?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's an absolutely fabulous day. I mean, 68 degrees. Does it get any better than this? If you had to ask me, I'd say no. So I'm doing great out here. It's already been a great morning, been helping customers. I actually had some customers come in for some service earlier this morning, so I got to get them all signed in and squared away, and it's been a pretty big morning out here. We've actually sold a couple motorhomes, a few travel trailers, and the parking lot's it's pretty full. So it's a great day out here, and if you're not out camping, come by and see us today. We'll be here until 5.
I want to say thank you to our guest on the show from last week, Miss Brenda Puckett, who was out there doing camper college with you guys, teaching people sort of RV 101, some how-tos. She actually sent me a nice little thank you, which was some very delicious popcorn to the station, which I say thank you, but I had nothing to do with the fact she was on the show. That was all you, Willy D.
Hey, she did send me some popcorn as well, so I did get to partake in that, and it was absolutely great. And it was great to have her out here. Like I said, it was a great partnership that we've developed with Girl Camper, and that was the first camper college. We're going to be doing more. So if you have different topics that you're wanting to get covered, shoot us a message. You can send us an email, get on the website, or you can always get on Facebook or Instagram, shoot us a message on there with topics that you're wanting covered. And of course, if you need any RVs inspected, call Brenda, the queen bee of RV, and she'll get you squared away. She does third-party inspections, so if you're looking at an RV out of state or somewhere not near you, or you just don't have the time to go by, or you don't know what you're looking for, she has a list of 500 different things. She's certified, and she can get you squared away. So call the queen bee of RVs. She's awesome. And we did have a great camper college out here. We had a really great turnout all throughout the day. Tons of people came by, and we were able to really help them get squared away with different questions that they had. We showed them a lot of great units. We had our famous Sabre fifth wheel out here lit up and shining bright. That was a bunkhouse model that we had out here on display. And then next to that, I had a really great Catalina as well. And so that ran for about $230 a month. Really great value, really well-built unit. Lots of great installation and just great construction features all throughout. One of my favorite features it has is that 12-volt fridge, and it has an electric fireplace. So today would have been a great day to kick that on, get a few little flames going. So lots of cool features with that. And then we also had a great Newmar out there. We had one of our Bay Stars. It was a little shorty. It was a little 28-footer. It had one big slide, big super slide is what we would call it, over there on the rear. And it just really is a great floor plan. And one thing really cool about that one that makes it special was it was the very first V8 Ford chassis that we had come into the lot. So that's a new thing that Newmar is doing with those, is they've transferred out of that V10 and they've moved into that V8, which just has tons of power and torque, and it really moves around and just gets the job done.
We're here every Saturday from noon until 1 for Camping with Wade's RV, talking all things camping and RVs. If you have an issue with your camper, your RV, and you want Willy D to help you work through it, you can get a hold of us. The number is 918-460-KRMG, 460-5764. You can also text us at 70123. Make sure you start your text with the letters KRMG, and then you can ask your question. And again, that number, 70123. You can also hit us up on the open mic if you have the KRMG app. If you don't have that app, it's a free download. Then you just hit the open mic, record your voice for 15 seconds, and we'll get it right here. Love to take your questions. And today we're going to have a fun topic here, Willy D. It's a good thing that it's just a Tulsa tradition every single year. A little bit different this year, as is about everything. So you want to introduce our guest, Willy D?
Yeah, so today I have a special guest. His name is Malcolm, and he actually partakes in Tulsa Tough. He has a lot to do with those guys, and I'll let him kind of get into a little bit more of what that organization is about and what it does. But you're exactly right. It is a Tulsa tradition, and here at Wade's RV, we love being involved with the community, and we've been partnered up with these guys for many different years, and so it's just another great year of helping endorse them and helping them just get the job done that they need to. And so I had him on here. We got an RV out there at the Zinc Ranch today, and this is a race. I don't know if they just have really, I guess it's called Tulsa Tough, so they always have these tough races, but Crybaby Hill, Tulsa Tough, and this one out at the Zinc Ranch, I've never seen a race anything like it. They actually are racing on gravel and doing some off-road stuff, and I love being outdoors, and so it's a little bit more my pace versus necessarily being inside of downtown Tulsa, but I got to go out there yesterday, check it out, and I'm going to be out there this afternoon as well. So that is my guest that I'm having on the road, and I'll let you take it over from here.
Mr. Malcolm McCollam, welcome to Camping with Wade's RV. How are you?
Well, thanks. I'm wonderful. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for, Willy D. I was listening to you talking about the RV 101. I'm kind of new to the RV scene, but when you set me up with this beautiful rig out here from Wade's RV, I kind of think that I could get used to this.
Absolutely. It's a great lifestyle, and it's just one of those things. Once you start camping in an RV, it's really hard not to camp in an RV after that. So glad we were able to get you helped out.
Oh, well, it's beautiful. I'm the envy of the RV campground. Last night we had about 100 people out here, a mixture of RVs and tents. We had a beautiful bonfire, and we had a saxophone player come out, and so it was just unbelievable with the fire going and the sax notes and the full moon out here in Osage County. And then I got to retire to the comfort of my RV, so it was a beautiful experience.
Malcolm, I want to ask you about the history of the Tulsa Tough. A couple of years ago, I got to go out and volunteer at one of the water stations in Sapulpa, and that was a lot of fun. But I've also done some cycling myself. This is a very big event, and we want to talk about some of the history. But first, let's talk this year. I mean, everything is upside down with COVID-19. How has the pandemic affected the Tulsa Tough, and what have you guys had to scramble and change?
Oh, it just turned our lives upside down as it did with everybody else. I mean, of course, we had to cancel our main event downtown, which is the St. Francis Tulsa Tough, because really when you're built upon an event that takes place over 3 days that is known for drawing huge crowds, tens of thousands of people to the downtown area in a tight concentration, it just is the last thing we should all be doing right now. So what we were able to do is come up with a new concept, as Willy D mentioned, out here at the Zinc Ranch. We're all outdoors. It's a much smaller footprint than the Tulsa area, although everybody has plenty of space, and it's a much smaller crowd. So we have about 350 bike racers out here today, and we sent them out up through the ranch. The John Zink Ranch Foundation was gracious enough to allow us use of this private property, 40,000-acre ranch out here. And so our crew had been out for several weeks scouting some back dirt roads that really the ranchers use for the most part. Got out there with a brush hog. They just created some new routes from nothing, and we sent these people out, these 350 cyclists out on their gravel bikes through the ranch and then out onto the Osage County roads. And that was at 9 o'clock this morning. And of course, most all of them are still out there because some are riding up to 103 miles today.
That's a long ride. The longest for me was 50, and that's completely untrained on a road bike for 50 miles. I didn't think my legs were ever going to work again. But is it different training for that sort of riding versus your standard, what they would do in downtown, for example?
It is much different training. So the downtown races are really more like NASCAR on bicycles with very tight packs, extremely high speeds, tight quarters. And then when these riders get out on these gravel roads, it's really the open road. So there are a little different kinds of technical skills. The surface isn't a smooth pavement surface. Sometimes you'll just have a lot of rocky, loose gravel. The bikes are a little bit different, bigger tires, a little bit different tire pressure. But, a cyclist is a cyclist, and for the most part, what they like to do is get out in the open road and enjoy the fresh air and have a good time and be active.
So before everything went crazy this year, I know it was a huge, huge deal for a long time. How did the Tulsa Tough become? I mean, how did it start?
Well, 15 years ago, one of our founding members came to us who was relatively new in cycling, and he had been on a local committee of one of the chamber committees that was focused on bringing people to Tulsa. And he convened a small group because he was interested in cycling, And we talked a lot about Tulsa's image. One of the big things 15 years ago, especially with our downtown area, was not necessarily that Tulsa had a bad image. It just lacked an image. And we were trying to do something about that. We felt like Tulsa, being the beautiful city and great place to live it is, deserved to be in those same conversations with, the areas like the Boulders and the Nashvilles and the Austins and all these different places. And so we set about to create an event with a big outsized personality that people would just enjoy and have a chance to bring them to the downtown areas and really see what Tulsa was all about firsthand. And so that was a huge part of our mission and continues to be a part of our mission this day, that being to elevate the profile of Tulsa.
I think you've really successfully done that. I mean, it is a legendary event at this point. Talking with Malcolm McCollam with Tulsa Tough. We need to take a break. You're listening to Camping with Wade's RV. And Willy D, when we get back, I'm going to have you tell us how this all comes together, because RVs do play a role in such events. We'll take a break. You can get your questions in if you want to talk to Malcolm, myself, or Willy D. It's 918-460-KRMG. We'll be right back on Camping with Wade's RV.
Camping with Wade's RV every Saturday at noon on 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk.
Welcome back. It's Camping with Wade's RV on 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk. I'm Skyler Cooper, joined by Willy D from Wade's RV, 161st and Highway 75. They are your one-stop shop for all things RVs. In my best estimation, the times I've been out there, Willy D, you guys are always buzzing around. It's always busy. And a question we have for you at 70123. If you want to text a question, it's KRMG and then your question to 70123. Willy D, it's a common question, not one you guys necessarily can help with, but you do have some advice on it. Someone's wanting to know if you have anybody or know of any way to rent an RV. They want one for right around Christmas, the 26th through the 30th, so just a couple days.
Yeah, so at Wade's RV, we do not rent RVs, but the most common way that people are renting RVs these days is through an app called RV Share. And so it's really, really convenient. Even if you don't have necessarily a truck or you don't know how to drive an RV, what's really cool is you can actually arrange it where the owner of the RV will actually drop it off and set it up and everything like that. So it's a really great app. It's really affordable, and that's been the most common way that most people these days are renting out an RV versus going through the national chains. And it's kind of cool. Everyone likes to support their local community, and so you're helping out your next door neighbor instead of just helping out these big chains. So if you're looking to rent one out, you can definitely schedule it out, and being looking for Christmas, and especially with just how busy the RV community has been recently, I would go ahead and get that scheduled now. So then you got it, just squared away and in place, and then you're not having to scramble at the last minute. So check out RV Share. That would be my recommendation.
You've always said that people will often go out with someone else. They're taken out by a friend, or maybe they do go ahead and rent an RV, and then they find out they really like it. So that's when they come see you guys and they buy one. And I know that you have a lot of new stuff coming in for 2021, which means 2020s are going out, but you always have a lot of used things too, so maybe they should check that out.
Absolutely. We have a great used selection. Every day we just have new stuff arriving, so you can come on out here. If you're looking for something new, we have that. If you're looking for pre-owned, we have that as well. One of my favorite pieces that we actually have that's a pre-owned unit is it's actually an American coach, and what's really cool is it's just such a high-end rig just when it's brand new. You look at it now, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was right around a 2008, and so you look at this in 2008, and then you look at something now, and it's very, very high-end, and you would almost think it's brand new. So some of that really classy styling just never goes out of date. So lots of great deals out here, and the great thing about a coach like that, all the depreciation's already off of it. So you can take advantage of a great deal, get into a unit, and you're going to love it. So get out and see what this lifestyle is about, whether you like traveling over the road and going to destinations, going to cities, or if you like getting out and just relaxing in the wilderness. Either way, we can get you an RV and get you out there and starting that lifestyle yourself.
A little bit later, we'll hear the Saturday edition, this week's edition of Willy D's Delivery Diaries, and also want to hear about your visit to the Sport Chassis Factory. Next time you go, I I would appreciate a phone call. That sounds like it'd be something fun. But today we are talking with Malcolm McCollam from the Tulsa Tough in the last 15 years of how it's grown to be such a great event and how you really intended to change the image of Tulsa and bring something really big to town. And I think that's something that you've successfully done. Unfortunately, this year it's a little different. So I know that you're looking ahead to next year, Malcolm. What's it going to look like then?
Oh, bigger and better. Our theme, we've already settled upon our theme for next year, and we are hoping to be back and tougher than ever. So that's the plan. We hope things will open up, that we can safely put on the event in June. Of course, a lot of that is out of our hands with the COVID situation, but hopefully the numbers will get back where they should be, and we can get back to some sense of normalcy with our lives.
I think we'd all love to see that. And earlier you were mentioning being the envy of the area there, staying in that RV from Wade's RV. Willy D, how does the RV world tie in with cycling?
Well, there's lots of different ways that it ties in with cycling. I have a couple different customers that actually participate in these events, and what they like to do is they'll put small trailers. Obviously, bikes aren't weighing a ton of weight, so you're not having to worry about it like if you're towing cars or something. But many times you can put your bike on the back of an RV. You can also bring a little trailer, so then you have all your tools and your equipment that you need to work on it if you do have something break down while you're out there. And then most importantly, whenever you're at these events, you can actually stay in your RV. You can get some great rest. You can also have a place to kind of crash and make you some food, and it's going to be somewhere that you can rejuvenate and make sure that you're ready for the next day. It's called Tulsa Tough. These races are not easy. You will not see me getting on there and doing any of this. I will leave that to the professionals, but it's somewhere that you can go, you can relax, and you can also hang out with your friends and family and make new friends. One thing I love about camping is whenever you're at a campsite, you're pulling up and it's like your first day of school when you got a whole classroom full of new classmates. It's really nice. So you can go around and you can meet people at different campsites and, just have a really great time and fellowship together.
Willy D, I was mentioning in the first section, I think I'm going to stay with you on the sidelines and be a spectator for the Tulsa Tough, because I did a couple of training rides for Freewheel a couple of years ago. This is like 10 years ago. And Malcolm, I'm just not for it. I like cycling, but I don't think I could do that cross-state stuff, and Tulsa Tough may not be for me, but I'd love to be out there and helping next year, because I did volunteer for like the water refill station and getting people just kind of rested up a little bit, and it's fun to take part in. I assume you're a rider too, Malcolm, is that right?
Well, I do ride, but I have to say, you as a volunteer were a key part of the success of what we do. Each year, we have to have somewhere around 600 or 700 volunteers to pull that event off. If you were constructing an event from scratch and wanted to try to replicate something, you would never do it like what we do, because what we do is completely create a venue from the ground up every day, and then at the end of the day, we completely strike it, move to a different location, and leave the former place back to business as normal. You can hardly tell that we've even been there. And that's one of the reasons that Wade's RV has been so important to us and critical to our success, because a lot of our infrastructure, our timing people, our results, our medical stations, all have to be mobile from one place to the next. And so Wade's has been a great partner with us, pulling in with these big RVs, helping us create really a stadium environment, and then pick up and move that to the next location the next day.
Malcolm, can you stick with us through the break? We got to check the news here.
I sure can.
Absolutely. I would love to get your take on what Willy D was just talking about and how RVs tie into all of what we were just saying. So we will take a break for the bottom of the hour news, and we'll check the forecast. You're listening to Camping with Wade's RV. Our guest, Malcolm McCollam with the Tulsa Tough. We'll be right back. Willy D, they can find you guys till 5 p.m. tonight. Let them know how to do so.
All right, there's a couple different ways, guys. You can come down and see us here at the store until 5 p.m. We're located at 161st and Highway 75. Or you can always find us online at wadesrv.com, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Lots of new videos that are up there as well. If you're looking to see how a sport chassis is built, we'll get into that a little bit later. But there is a brand new factory tour video. So if you've been interested in these trucks and you're wondering what it's all about, go ahead, get on YouTube and type in Sport Chassis Factory Tour. and you'll see a good old picture of myself at the factory. So lots of great videos on there, or you can always give us a call, 918-291-1011. We will be here until 5 today, and we'll be opening right back up on Monday morning starting at 8 a.m., and we'll be open until 6 during the week. So come on out here and see us, guys. Like I said, I got a lot of great inventory. New inventory has been arriving daily. So while a lot of other places may be struggling to get inventory, I mean, even have travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, even have one of each, we have it all. So we have A's, B's, C's, and we even have toy haulers. So come on out here and see the selection and come experience the Wade's RV difference.
And you can join the show, too, if you have RV questions. Give us a call, 918-460-KRMG, 460-5764, or text us. The number is 70123. Start your text with KRMG and then your question, and send it to 70123. We'll be happy to answer those for you. If you missed the first half of our show, remember you can always find a podcast on the KRMG app every week. This show is available for you 24/7. We have been joined today by Malcolm McCollam from the Tulsa Tough, talking about the challenges from the pandemic this year, how next year is already coming to be a different shape and what it will look like. But Malcolm, I wanted to ask you about RVs and cycling. Willy D was talking about the partnership that you guys have had, and I'm sure there are a lot of guys who, you mentioned how you pack up and move every single day for the event. How do RVs play into what you're doing?
Well, as I mentioned, we use them extensively during the St. Francis Tulsa Tough downtown in June to create really a mobile stadium with all the infrastructure that has to go behind that: radio communications, medical, timing, scoring, the drug testing, for example, something that's been talked about in cycling before. We have an RV that's specifically set up with the drug testing professionals that come in to test all the athletes. So all of that has to be at every venue for a professional race of our caliber. And if you're going to move the venue every day, it all has to be mobile. And so that's where Wade's RV has been just a perfect partner for us. It's been very professional, and the units are always fantastic. And when people come in from out of town and see how we have everything organized, they're just blown away by the professionalism and the support that we have locally. And then, of course, this has been kind of an eye-opening thing for me as a cyclist from the rider's perspective, especially out here at the Zinc Ranch with the Osage Passage. We have a little RV village all set up. I didn't realize so many of my fellow cyclists were RV owners, but they've pulled in droves. It's been amazing. In fact, we had a caravan of 3 RVs from Boise, Idaho, that drove down together over 3 days to come to Tulsa for this event, and they're all camped out here in Tulsa. So there was a little bit of a lack of knowledge on my part how extensively permeated the RV culture has been into my cycling culture.
On that note, Willy D, I just noticed in the break, I was looking at Instagram, and our buddy Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell is out there at Zinc Ranch today taking part as well.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, well, if he's tuning in, shout out to him, and I will be out there here shortly. Whenever we finish up with this show, I'm going to be headed out to the Zinc Ranch myself to see what all the fun and excitement is all about, and then later tonight, I'm going to be out in Mounds, Oklahoma, bucking horses.
Hey, Malcolm, before we let you go, let's just give everybody the information they need to know if they want to learn more about next year's Tulsa Tough or how they can get involved.
Well, TulsaTough.com is your source for all things having to do with the June event, and then OsagePassage.com is your location for all things having to do with Osage Passage. And I'm happy to report that I did visit with Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell after the ride. He did successfully finish. There were no bruises or scrapes or anything like that. He had a smile on his face. I saw it before he covered it up with his mask, and so the Lieutenant Governor is in good shape.
I'm not surprised. He's a strong guy, and he gets around the state a lot and really is championing what his job is. The Secretary of Tourism, I think, is his other title. So he does that well. Malcolm, thanks so much. It's great to talk to you again.
It's great to be out here. Thank you.
Hey, Willy D, before we go to our next break here, let's talk a little bit about your visit to the Sport Chassis Factory. I would love to go next time, but for now I'll have to settle for your YouTube video.
It was a really awesome trip. It's always a great time going up there and visiting with the guys from Sport Chassis. But I had a customer, and they actually, you know how they found out about us? They were listening to our great program here on KRMG. So it was really cool to hear that. And then they also gone on YouTube and watched some of my videos and stuff. And they came in, and one of the guys said, "Hey, I got some customers that are interested in Sport Chassis." And so my ears perked right on up, and I was right on out there really trying to help them out the best I could. And long story short, we did lots of things just to make sure this was the right decision. We did test pulls. We went out to the factory, which is really cool. If you want to go out to the Sport Chassis factory and you're interested, let me know. You know, we will be having a road trip, that's for sure. But got to go out there, and I got to experience lots of different things. I've been going out the last few times, and it seems like this always happens to me whenever I'm making a video. I'm always missing one or two shots. So collectively, after this trip, I was able to collect all my video shots together and put it, piece it together, I guess you might say, and then collect one great video. And so you can see exactly how these trucks are built. If you don't know much about Sport Chassis, let me go ahead and kind of fill you in. It's a heavy duty pickup truck, so you don't need any special licenses. It has great visibility. It looks almost like a semi truck, but it's going to be a lot heavier duty. While you have those F350s, F450s that can tow 30,000 pounds, they weigh about half as much as this truck. So if I'm pulling 30,000 pounds, I want something with a little bit of weight to be able to stop me, aside from an electronic braking system. And that's what this truck offers: luxury, space, drivability, maneuverability, fuel capacity, 150 gallons of fuel, and that's without auxiliary tanks. That's just every day when you're filling up. So it really will take care of you when you're going over the road, and it's just it takes you just to the next level of your towing capacities, abilities, and like I said, it's a safety thing at the end of the day whenever you drive one of these in comparison. So it's a really good truck. But when I was down there, I got to see they have a new offshore edition, and I was really excited about that. They always send me pictures of kind of new things that they're working on and ask me what I think about them. And there has been some great improvements, such as the new screens they're putting in there. They're also putting new lighting. And they also have a couple different upgrades through the interior that you'll find as well that they've just changed throughout the years. But the new offshore edition, it has a totally new bed design on it. And so by offshore, it's not a boat that looks like a sports yacht. It's actually kind of geared towards that kind of water culture, I guess you might say, versus like the Western culture where they have all the diamond plating and stuff like that all over the truck. This has more of the foam padding that you have on like the jet skis and the deck boats. That's what's on the side of this truck. And that's also what's in the bed of this truck. And so there's really cool Sport Chassis logos and etchings and colors, and they also put new rims. So now you can get American Racing rims for your Sport Chassis or Freightliner. And so all of these new updates that they put in there have been really, really cool. And one option that you can order on any Sport Chassis, but is a standard with the offshore, is going to be the side view cameras. So if you click your turn signal, it'll actually show you all the way down the side of your truck and help you see some of those blind spots. With the two mirrors that Sport Chassis has to begin with, you have really great visibility all the way around. And so it's a new addition, and there's a couple extra special features, but just like anything else with Sport Chassis, we can always customize it to make sure it's exactly what you like and make sure it's going to be exactly the way you want it whenever you leave the factory. The customer that I went up there with, he actually wanted a couple special attachments put onto the backside of his bed so he could do some different tie down options. And you know what we did? We pulled that truck bed off, we put those on there, and he's going to be set to go. We also installed a custom camera system for him, and that goes all the way down his camper trailer, which is a really cool sundowner. And the coolest thing ever that he carries around with him, he's got a yellow Corvette in the back that he goes around. So he is living the life. He's got a Corvette. He's got the Sundowner toy hauler, which is really cool. If you've ever wanted to take a look at that, I highly recommend those. And then to top it off, he has a bright candy apple red Sport Chassis. So congratulations to those folks, and I hope they enjoy it. They're going to be picking it up this Wednesday, and I know they're going to be turning lots of miles into memories.
That sounds like a wonderful rig. I want to see that thing.
Oh, it's awesome. And if you're interested in a red one, I did have some new inventory arrive here this week for Sport Chassis. I did have a new candy apple red, and then I would say it's kind of like a royal blue arrive here as well. So if you're interested in any of these trucks, come on out here today. And if you're going to be around the mountains area, I will have one set up on display at the rodeo this evening. So it won't be hard to find. It's going to be nice and bright red. Hopefully we're going to hook that up for old Danny Lawrence.
Now, if you're new to the show this week, you haven't heard us talk about the Sport Chassis before. We talk about it every once in a while, but I actually got to drive one of these at Wade's RV. They gave me the keys, which they probably shouldn't have done. But I will say, with a little guidance, a little how-to, Willy D's training school, I got to drive that thing, and it was so much easier than I thought. And it's just a really cool, big old truck if you need something to pull with. And Willie D, I'm always blown away by it. First of all, it's two things. Very, very utilitarian. I mean, outside, it's going to do everything you need it to do. Inside, I compared it to like a luxury jet. It's really nice. The interior was awesome. And it was a lot easier to drive than I thought.
It's super easy to drive, and it's set up to drive. This unit, this rig, it's meant to put over 1 million miles on it. So this thing is meant to go down the road. It's meant to put miles on it, and it's meant to be drivable. Whenever you're talking about your cruise controls, your window options, the radio itself, all these things are set up to be featured and available for you to use, where you're not having to look around for them. They're going to be nice and big, and it's just going to make your job going down the road while you're towing a lot easier, where you're not having to stress out, you're not having to white knuckle things as much, and you're just able to enjoy the trip versus having to work through the trip. One big thing that I noticed after doing an 8-hour trip in a sport chassis was the fact I didn't have jet lag. I didn't have that feeling of being tired and worn out once I got to my destination, because I wasn't getting whipped around and I wasn't getting pulled around and slung around. And so it makes a big difference for me. And once you start driving a sport chassis, I say there's a moment in time whenever you start looking at a sport chassis, and then whenever you make that decision, where you become a believer. So come on out and let us make a believer out of you today.
Let's take a break. You're listening to Camping with Wade's RV, and when we wrap up the show next, Willie D has a little story, his weekly delivery diaries, and this time he went to my old stomping grounds up in Skytook. So we'll hear about that when we come back. You can join the show, 918-460-KRMG, 460-5764. It's Camping with Wade's RV on 102.3 KRMG.
Tulsa's news and talk.
Welcome back. It is Camping with Wade's RV on 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk. I'm Skyler Cooper. You'll hear this show every Saturday from noon until 1, and if you miss it, we've got a podcast. It's up on the KRMG app or krmg.com. Look for the on-demand section, and you'll find us there. Willie D's down at Wade's RV, 161st and Highway 75, or they can always find you a couple miles up the road from there, too.
Yeah, so we're here at 161st and Highway 75, and if you want to go by the service center or you're looking for some storage, we have lots of that available. You can go by and see us at 121st and Highway 75. That's where we got our original start when Mr. Wade Reeves started old Wade's RV back in the day, and we've been working out of there ever since. And just a few years ago, we actually moved out here to what we call the Super Center, which, like what we were saying, is located out here at 161st, which is where we have all this great inventory. We have a great shop out here. We have lots of storage as well. So anything you're looking to get taken care of RV wise, we got you covered. So come on out here and see us today.
Hey, what's the deal with Newmar? They're pretty particular in who gets to sell Newmar, but you guys do.
Yeah, they're absolutely very particular. And so with Wade's RV, we have collected the absolute best brands. We have over 24 of the best brands, and by that you might think, oh, he just works there, he's a little biased. No, this is tried and true, and it's proven. We carry brands like Newmar, we carry brands like Integra, like Sport Chassis, and these brands don't just show up and say, hey, you want to carry my product? You have to be qualified. You actually have to go through vigorous training every year. For Newmar, I spend over 12 hours just refreshing on the new models and the changes that they've come out with. Not necessarily just a normal walk around. It is what has changed on these models to make sure that you are fully trained and fully versed in all of these units. And so the way that we do business here at Wade's RV has qualified with these companies so we can partner with them, just like we partner with different people in the Tulsa area. We partner with these companies to carry the best products so we can take care of our customers the best way. For example, Newmar. If you have a Newmar that you bought from us and they don't approve us to go ahead and fix your warranty claim within 4 hours, we are greenlighted to go ahead and fix it. So there's things like that take care of you a whole lot better than, let's say, a Thor or something else. So there's lots of different things that Newmar and these brands will do for you as a customer, just like Wade's RV. And so it just works out hand in hand because we want to partner with people that do business the way that we do business, and we do business the right way, and we take care of our customers. So different brands like that, they don't just choose everyone. So if you want to be taken care of, you got to come see the professionals out here and deal with the professional brands, because not all these RVs are built equally. Some of them have some great features, but not all of them are built to the standard that you need. So come on out here and see what we have, and we'll show you the difference. We can actually show you the walls. It's really cool. We have like a wall cutout, and so you can see the difference in a competition's wall and our wall. We'll show you all the different installations, and we will teach you about RVs. And whenever you leave with your RV, I'm sitting right in front of this really nice Class C motorhome. It's getting ready to go out on delivery, which means they're going to be getting a full demonstration on how to operate this unit. So you don't have to worry about if you don't know how to work them, we will teach you. So come on out here and see the difference today.
Hey, from one side of the Tulsa Metro to the other, Glenpool to Skytook, that's this week's edition of Delivery Diaries. What'd you drop off this time?
Yeah, so this time I actually got to drop off a beautiful Tuscany 45JA. And the 45JAs are kind of, I really like them. I call them the Just Awesome unit because it's got a really cool floor plan, lots of space, and lots of features as well. And so I got to drive a 45-foot Tuscany all the way out to Skytook, and it was a beautiful ride, and it really took great care of me. Going down the road, it had a tag axle, it had the air ride suspension, the tile, and the woodworking in this thing is absolutely second to none. And so I really enjoyed the ride itself, but it was really cool whenever I got to meet the customer. I got to tell him, I said, hey, actually, this unit, we had it at one of our RV shows, and it was actually one of my first news interviews that I ever got to do for Wade's RV. I did inside that bus, and so I got to kind of share stories of his bus whenever it was on the lot, and he got to share stories of when he was out at the campsite. So making relationships with our customers is just another thing that we do here at Wade's RV. So come on out here and see us today. We'll be here until 5, and tell them Willy D sent you.
Out of time for the week. Thanks so much, Willy D. We'll be back next Saturday at noon on KRMG.